Sagittarius, your inner fire is rising stronger than ever before. Sagittarius, deep within you there has always been a flame. Restless, untamed. A fire that refuses to be extinguished. Life may have tried to dim it. You've endured storms, betrayals, and disappointments that at times made you question your strength. Perhaps there were moments when you felt your spark fading. When exhaustion or heartbreak made you believe your fire had gone out for good. But Sagittarius, fire is your essence. It may flicker, it may bend in the winds of life, but it never truly dies. Now, something powerful is stirring. You may already feel it. A heat in your chest, a rising energy in your spirit, a sense that change is not only coming but coming through you. This is your inner fire rekindling itself, stronger and brighter than ever before. Every tear you've shed has been fuel. Every ending you've survived has been kindling. Every truth you've uncovered has been a spark. And now that fire is ready to blaze in ways that will light not only your path, but also the paths of those around you. Stay with me, Sagittarius, because in this message we will explore what it means for your fire to rise again, how to honor it without fear, and how this rebirth will shape the next chapter of your destiny. And if these words touch something in your soul, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe, not just as a gesture, but as a way of declaring to yourself, my fire is rising and I am ready to shine. Gate 1, the flicker that never went out. Sagittarius, your story has never been one of easy paths. You are the wanderer, the seeker, the archer always stretching your bow toward horizons others cannot yet see. And while that makes your spirit adventurous, it also means life often tests you harder than most. You've known what it feels like to be misunderstood, to pour yourself into love or work only to feel depleted, to carry dreams that others tried to dismiss or belittle. In those moments, your fire seemed to waver. It didn't disappear, but it dimmed, waiting quietly for you to remember who you are. That's the secret of your spirit. You are fire itself. You burn with Jupiter's expansive light, a flame of growth, wisdom, and vision. And no matter how many storms or betrayals you've endured, your fire has always remained, hidden beneath the ashes, waiting for the moment it could rise again. Think back, Sagittarius, to times when you felt your lowest. Perhaps you thought you couldn't keep going, that life had taken too much from you. Yet even in those moments, something small inside whispered, "Not yet. There is still more." That whisper was your fire refusing to die. I once sat with a Sagittarius named Helena who had lost nearly everything in a single year. Her job, her relationship, her sense of stability. She described that time as walking through endless darkness, barely able to see a step ahead. But what struck me most was her honesty when she said, "Even when I thought I had nothing left, there was this little ember inside me. I hated it sometimes because it kept me alive when I wanted to give up. But that ember, it was the reason I'm here today." That ember, Sagittarius, is the essence of your being. It never leaves you no matter how fierce the storm. And now the ember has grown. The flicker has turned into a flame. Life has pressed you, broken you open, stripped away illusions, but instead of destroying you, it has concentrated your fire. What once burned softly is now roaring. You may feel it as restlessness, as if your soul cannot sit still any longer. You may feel it as inspiration, new ideas, new desires rising within you like sparks catching dry wood. Or you may feel it as courage, a sudden unwillingness to stay silent, small, or diminished in places that no longer honor you. Sagittarius, you must understand that your fire grows every time you refuse to surrender your spirit. When you choose to rise after heartbreak, your fire grows. When you set a boundary with someone who once dimmed your light, your fire grows. When you chase a dream despite the odds, your fire grows. Every act of defiance against despair is fuel. Every moment you choose hope over fear is a log placed on your flame. And now, after all that you've endured, your fire is no longer a small candle. It is becoming a bonfire, visible for miles, impossible to ignore. Of course, with fire comes responsibility. You may worry, what if my fire consumes me? What if it burns others? But fire is not meant to destroy. It is meant to illuminate and transform. Think of a forest after a wildfire. At first it seems like devastation, but soon the earth begins to regenerate, richer and more fertile than before. Your fire works the same way. It burns away what no longer serves you, what has held you back, what was never truly aligned with your soul. And in its place it creates space for new growth, growth that could not have happened otherwise. I recall another Sagittarius, Marco, who spent years hiding his talents in music because others told him it wasn't practical. He pursued a stable career, followed expectations, and tried to be content. But inside he felt a fire burning, a restlessness that would not leave him. One day, after a particularly painful betrayal at work, something snapped. He quit, picked up his guitar, and started performing again. At first, it was small open mics, local shows, but the fire in his voice was undeniable. Today, he is not only a performer but also a teacher, inspiring others to embrace their creativity. "I thought the fire in me was gone," he said, "but it was only waiting for me to finally listen." Sagittarius, that is your call right now. Your inner fire is rising stronger than ever before, and it demands to be acknowledged. It cannot be ignored or silenced anymore. If you've been living half-truths, staying in spaces that no longer fit, or denying your deepest desires, your fire will make it unbearable to continue. You may feel restless, even uncomfortable, but that discomfort is not a punishment. It is a signal. It is your soul saying, "It's time to rise." Do not fear this. Do not suppress it. Your fire is not reckless, it is wise. It knows what must be burned away and what must be nurtured. Trust it. Let it guide you. When you feel the pull to speak your truth, follow it. When you feel the urge to step away from what drains you, honor it. When you feel the spark of inspiration, chase it. Your fire will not lead you astray, because it is the truest expression of who you are. And here is the beauty of it. Your fire is not only for you. It is for everyone whose path you touch. When you live fully, when you shine without apology, you give others permission to do the same. You become a lighthouse, not because you try to save others, but because your very existence reminds them of what is possible. Your fire becomes contagious. So take this moment, Sagittarius, and honor the flicker that never went out. Honor the storms that tried to smother it but failed. Honor the resilience that kept it alive, even in your darkest nights. And most of all, honor the fire that is now rising, stronger than ever, ready to transform your life from the inside out. Gate to the courage to break the old limits. Sagittarius, your fire is not meant to remain contained. It was never designed to flicker politely in a corner, to warm others while leaving you shivering. No, your fire is wild, expansive, uncontainable. And now that it is rising stronger than ever before, it is demanding something of you. Courage. Courage to break the limits you once accepted as truth. Courage to defy the cages you once stepped into willingly. Courage to honor the call of your soul no matter who doubts you. For too long, you may have lived within boundaries drawn by others. Family, society, relationships, even your own fears. They built walls around you, whispering that you should stay safe, stay small, stay predictable. And because your heart is generous, because you often prioritize harmony, you may have complied. You convinced yourself that settling was noble, that shrinking was responsible, that waiting was wise. But Sagittarius, fire cannot be caged. It will flicker and burn quietly for a while, but eventually it demands to roar. And when it roars, the walls fall. I think of Caleb, a Sagittarius who spent years in a corporate job that drained his spirit. He told himself it was secure, that it provided stability for his family, that it was the smart choice. But inside he was suffocating. He dreamed of starting a nonprofit to support underprivileged youth, but every time he considered it, fear pulled him back. Then came the moment of truth. His company downsized and he was let go. First he panicked, but then something inside him sparked. "I realized I had been waiting for permission to live," he told me. "But losing my job showed me that permission was never coming. I had to give it to myself." Today his nonprofit thrives, touching hundreds of lives. His fire, once dimmed, now blazes as purpose. Sagittarius, this is the essence of your rising fire. It ignites courage. Not the reckless kind, but the kind that comes from deep knowing. The courage to leave behind what no longer nourishes your soul. The courage to pursue dreams others call impossible. The courage to speak truths that others prefer to silence. The courage to believe in yourself even when the world doubts. Of course, courage does not mean the absence of fear. You will feel fear. Your mind will whisper all the reasons you shouldn't leap. The shadows of the past may try to convince you that you will fail again. But your fire will not allow you to stay stuck. You will feel the push, the restless energy, the rising heat in your spirit until you can no longer tolerate living small. That discomfort, Sagittarius, is your soul demanding freedom. Another Sagittarius, Leora, once shared with me how she stayed in a relationship for years, even though it drained her spirit. I thought love meant sacrifice, she said. I thought staying meant loyalty. But inside she knew she was shrinking. Her laughter became quieter, her dreams shelved, her fire dimmed. Then one night, she looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized her reflection. I realized I had become a shadow of myself, she confessed. That realization was her fire rising. She left, terrified but resolute, and rebuilt her life from scratch. Today she travels the world, writes poetry, and radiates a light so powerful it inspires everyone she meets. My fire saved me, she said simply. Sagittarius, your fire will save you too. It will not let you settle for less than your truth. It will not let you remain in cages that suffocate your soul. It will not let you live a life that feels half-lived. And though others may not understand your choices, though they may call you reckless or selfish, know this. Choosing your fire is not selfish, it is sacred. Because when you honor your fire, you not only liberate yourself, you liberate others to do the same. Think of it this way. When you choose courage, you break chains not just for yourself, but for everyone watching. The friend who has been afraid to leave their toxic job sees you leap and believes they can too. The sibling who has silenced their dreams sees you pursue yours and finds their voice. The child who grows up in your presence learns that courage is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear win. Your fire becomes a ripple of courage across lives you may never even realize you've touched. But courage also demands honesty. You must be willing to look at the areas of your life where you've compromised too much, where you've settled for comfort over growth, where you've silenced your truth for the sake of peace. These are the places your fire is pushing against. You may feel restless, agitated, even trapped, and that is the sign. Do not ignore it. Do not numb it. Lean into it. Ask yourself, what is my fire asking me to release? What is it asking me to pursue? What is it asking me to say that I've been afraid to say? The answers may surprise you, but they will set you free. Sagittarius, your rising fire is your destiny calling. It is reminding you that you were never meant to live an ordinary life bound by fear. You were meant to expand, to explore, to blaze trails where others hesitate. And yes, it will require courage. Yes, it will demand risk. But every risk taken in alignment with your soul is not really a risk. It is a step toward truth. So let the fire rise. Let it break the old limits, the cages, the fears. Let it fuel your steps into the unknown, knowing that the unknown is where your magic thrives. You do not need certainty, Sagittarius. You need faith, faith in yourself, faith in the fire that has carried you through every storm, faith in the truth that your soul was never meant to be small. And when you look back years from now, you will see it clearly. The moment you chose courage, the moment you honored your fire, was the moment your life truly began. Gate 3, becoming a light for others. Sagittarius, your fire is not just your own. It is a beacon. When your inner flame rises, it does more than illuminate your path. It sends light into the world around you, reaching those who are still stumbling in their own darkness. You may not realize it, but your courage to rise, your willingness to keep going, your refusal to be extinguished, these things ripple outward, touching souls in ways you cannot always see. This is part of your Sagittarian destiny. You are ruled by Jupiter, the planet of wisdom and expansion. Your lessons are never meant to stop with you. They are meant to be shared. Every trial you've endured, every storm that tried to break you, every moment you chose to stand again, it all becomes fuel not just for your growth, but for the growth of others. That is the gift of your rising fire. It transforms personal survival into collective inspiration. Consider Miriam, a Sagittarius woman who battled depression after years of loss and disappointment. For a time she withdrew from the world, convinced her light had gone out. But as she slowly rebuilt herself, she discovered that her fire, though quiet, had never truly left. She began sharing her journey online, writing about resilience, hope, and healing. She didn't plan to become a voice for others, but people began to gather around her words, drawn to the authenticity of her story. I never knew my pain could help someone else, she told me. But every time someone says, "You gave me hope," my fire grows stronger. Miriam's light, once hidden, became a guidepost for countless others walking their own hard roads. Sagittarius, you may underestimate the power of your presence. You may think your story is ordinary, your survival unremarkable. But to someone who is standing where you once stood, on the edge of despair, wondering if they can go on, you are living proof that they can. You don't need to preach or fix, or carry anyone else's burdens. Simply living your truth, unapologetically, courageously, is enough to awaken hope in those who have forgotten it. Your fire becomes contagious. People feel it when you walk into a room. They may not know your story, but they sense your resilience, your openness, your refusal to be defeated. It's in the way you laugh after pain, the way you dream after disappointment, the way you love after heartbreak. This is what sets you apart, Sagittarius. You do not stay buried. You rise, and in your rising, you show others that they can too. But let me be clear. Becoming a light for others does not mean you must burn yourself out. This is a lesson many Sagittarians learn the hard way. Because your heart is generous, because you see the best in people, you may feel tempted to give endlessly, to sacrifice your own fire for the sake of keeping others warm. But remember this, your light does not come from depletion. It comes from alignment. When you tend your own fire, when you live in your truth, when you honor your boundaries, you shine brighter than you ever could by trying to save others. Think of Elijah, a Sagittarius who worked as a teacher. He loved his students deeply, but over the years he gave so much of himself that he began to feel empty. He stayed late, took on extra burdens, and neglected his own health. Eventually, exhaustion overtook him, and he nearly left teaching altogether. But during his recovery, he realized that his fire was not gone. It was simply smothered. He learned to balance his giving, to tend his own flame first. And when he returned to the classroom, something had shifted. He was no longer running on fumes, he was radiating energy. His students noticed the difference immediately. "I thought giving everything was the way to serve," Elijah told me. "But I learned that keeping my fire alive serves others more than burning myself out ever could." Sagittarius, that is the balance your rising fire asks of you. Be the light, yes. Inspire, yes. But never forget that your fire must be fed. You cannot guide others if you neglect yourself. Your greatest gift to the world is not your sacrifice. It is your wholeness. When you live authentically, you give others permission to do the same. When you follow your dreams, you remind others that theirs matter too. When you walk boldly, you open a path for others to follow. And here lies a deeper truth. Your fire will draw people to you, both those who are uplifted by it and those who are threatened by it. Do not be surprised if some resist your light, if they try to dim you or dismiss you. Their discomfort is not your burden. It is their unhealed shadow. Do not shrink to soothe them. Do not dim your flame to make others feel comfortable in their darkness. Your light is not meant to be hidden. It is meant to shine, to expand, to ignite sparks in those who are ready to see. The rising of your fire is also the rising of your voice. You will feel compelled to speak truths you once silenced, to stand up for what matters, to share the wisdom you've gained. Do not underestimate this call. Your words, your presence, your energy, they carry weight. They can pierce through illusions, awaken sleeping hearts, and remind others of what is real. Whether you share your story with one person over coffee or with thousands through your work, your fire will reach who it is meant to reach. Trust that. Sagittarius, you were never meant to walk this world unnoticed. You were meant to blaze. Your fire is not arrogance. It is authenticity. It is the divine expression of your soul refusing to stay hidden. And when you allow it to rise, you become not only a survivor of storms, but a lighthouse for others. You do not need to rescue them. Simply by standing tall in your truth, you show them that they too can rise. This is the legacy of your fire, Sagittarius. It is not just about you. It is about the countless lives you will touch simply by being who you are. And as your fire rises stronger than ever before, the world around you will feel its warmth, its light, its inspiration. Gate 4, walking into destiny with a blaze. Sagittarius, your fire is not random. It is not simply energy or passion. It is destiny speaking through you. Every ember that refused to die, every flame that grew stronger after storms, every surge of courage that lifted you from despair. These were not accidents. They were preparations. Your inner fire has been forged for this very moment, when you are finally ready to step fully into the life you were meant to live. Destiny is not a fixed point waiting on the horizon. It is a path revealed by fire. When your flame burns brightly, it illuminates what was once hidden. The desires you buried, the talents you dismissed, the visions you thought were too big. Suddenly, what once felt impossible begins to feel inevitable. The walls that held you back crumble. The voices that doubted you grow faint. All that remains is the fire inside, urging you forward with clarity and conviction. I think of Julia, a Sagittarius who spent years following the safe path. She became a lawyer because it was practical, because it satisfied expectations, because it promised stability. But inside, she always dreamed of writing novels. For years, she silenced that fire, convincing herself it was foolish. But after a painful divorce, something inside her broke open. I felt like I had nothing left to lose, she told me. So I picked up a pen again. Her fire, once suppressed, roared to life. Today she is a published author, her books reaching thousands. The life I was meant to live was waiting for me all along, she said. I just needed to let my fire lead. Sagittarius, that is your story too. The life you long for. The dreams that pull at your spirit. They are not fantasies. They are glimpses of your destiny. And your fire is rising now to give you the courage to pursue them. No more waiting for permission. No more silencing yourself to make others comfortable. No more pretending you are content when your soul is restless. The fire demands authenticity. And authenticity is the gateway to destiny. But let's be honest, manifestation is not magic that happens overnight. It is the marriage of vision and action, of faith and persistence. Your fire shows you the vision. It ignites desire. It paints possibilities across the canvas of your mind. But then you must move. You must take the steps, however small, that turn sparks into flames, dreams into reality. The beauty of your Sagittarian nature is that you are built for this. You thrive on movement, exploration, risk. When you commit, when you allow your fire to guide you, nothing can stand in your way. Another Sagittarius, Daniel, once shared how he built his dream of opening a wellness retreat center. At first, he only had a vision, a place where people could heal, rest, and rediscover themselves. He had no resources, no connections, no clear plan. But he had fire. Every day he took one step, researching, networking, saving, visualizing. Years later, the center exists, filled with light, laughter, and transformation. My fire wouldn't let me quit, Daniel said. Even when it looked impossible, it kept saying, keep going. Sagittarius, your fire is the same. It is the inner voice that won't let you settle, the restlessness that refuses to be quieted, the pull toward something greater than the life you've known. Trust it. Feed it. Let it lead you. Because the more you align with it, the more the universe aligns with you. Opportunities appear. People arrive. Doors open. It may look like luck, but it is simply your fire magnetizing the life that matches its frequency. And here is the deeper truth. Your destiny is not just about what you create, but about who you become. The fire rising in you now is shaping you into someone unrecognizable. Not because you are losing yourself, but because you are finally becoming your true self. You will look back and see how small you once played, how dim you once allowed yourself to shine, and you will smile, not with regret but with gratitude. Because without those chapters you would not know the joy of this one. Sagittarius, your destiny is not ordinary. It is not safe or small. It is vast, like your ruling planet Jupiter, demanding expansion, growth, adventure. It asks you to live boldly, to chase dreams others think impossible, to embody freedom so fully that you inspire others simply by existing. And yes, it will take courage. Yes, it will take persistence. But your fire is rising to meet the challenge. It is stronger than your doubts, louder than your fears, brighter than any shadow that lingers. So step forward now, not timidly but with blaze. Walk into the spaces your soul has longed for. Speak the truths you once swallowed. Pursue the dreams you once postponed. The time for waiting is over. The fire is here. And with it comes the certainty that you are not only capable, you are destined. Remember, Sagittarius, the universe did not give you fire so you could hide it. It gave you fire so you could ignite the world. And now, as your inner flame rises stronger than ever before, destiny is opening before you. Step into it. Live it. Blaze it. The fire that cannot be extinguished. Sagittarius, your journey has never been easy, but it has always been transformative. You have known storms, betrayals, endings, and disappointments. You have known moments when your spark seemed to flicker, when you questioned if you had any fire left at all. And yet, through it all, your flame endured. Quietly, persistently, it waited for this moment, the moment when it could rise, not just to light your path, but to blaze brighter than ever before. Your inner fire is your truth, your courage, your essence. It is the force that pushes you to expand, to dream, to break limits others accept as final. It is the whisper that tells you there is more to life than surviving. It tells you that you are meant to thrive. And now that whisper has become a roar. The fire within you is no longer asking politely, it is demanding to be honored. So walk boldly into this next chapter. Let your fire illuminate the dreams you have shelved, the truths you have silenced, the freedom you have denied yourself. Let it fuel your courage to speak, to act, to create, to live fully. Do not fear its power, trust it. This fire was given to you for a reason. And if this message resonates, if you feel that undeniable stirring within, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe. Not for me but for yourself, as a way of declaring, I choose my fire. I choose my truth. I choose to rise. Because Sagittarius, the truth is simple. Your fire cannot be extinguished. It is rising now, stronger than ever before. And the world is waiting for your blaze.